Hi, welcome to the Andrew Buckle book review of The Rolling Stone Record Guide. Reviews and ratings of almost 10,000 currently available rock, pop, soul, country, blues, jazz and gospel albums by Dave Marsh and John Svensson. Now this book, of course, you can see there, is quite old. It's quite a nice tatty copy. Now I had this copy years ago and I just bought it again because I got rid of it. And it's just as good going through it. And I love these sort of books because it's just got such a lot, massive list of albums. And of course, with a good old Amazon device, it's really nice to be able to call out and say, blah, 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 play this album and just go through. Wow, I think this is just great. So Virgin Books, and also this book's got 631 pages. Obviously, there's no colour all the way through. It's just basically listing. It's also got a few covers. You can see the covers just going through there with the various reviews. Now, of course, the reviews you may agree or disagree with. Some of these, I think, it says, blah, blah, this album is terrible or whatever. Or, this is not very good or not uninspired or something like that. And personally, of course, I think it's a really good album. So, and also albums it suggests are brilliant masterpieces turn out to be pretty awful. And of course, albums. It's not CDs. I'm not certain when CDs came in, but certainly I think this is slightly before CDs really took off. So I remember buying lots and lots of albums when I had this copy. And, but it's got a nice little introduction there, and you've got obviously information about the reviewers. You've got, and obviously there all the range of different, very American centric. This is not for the UK. So, but at the same time, obviously all these records are available in the UK, but it is US centric, and lots of the bands, of course, mentioned us US centric bands. I mean, bands like the Beatles, they're included somewhere here, but that which is quite good. And the Rolling Stones, of course. But you've got here variety, and they put like 4 stars, 3 stars, etc. And so very few get those sort of real legend, sort of 4 stars in anthology there. Dwayne Allman. That's and also Anthology Volume 2, and it's got obviously a description about the album as well. And of course, you can get the album, listen to it, and maybe make your own one. And I did my original copy. I would scribble it out, saying, "Oh, that's rubbish," or I put comments or mark it in many ways. I haven't done that with this yet, but I probably will start doing that. And I've got quite a few reference books, and I love just going through, like I say, calling out the various albums and going, "Oh, that's interesting," and explore the bands that I must admit, Barnstorm. Never heard of them. The Barkeys, I've heard of them. Nicky Barclay. And of course, some of the albums I've never heard of. Well, lots of the albums I've never heard of. I mean, I might have done at the time Bobby Bear, I remember him, Rose Banks, and so Barclay James Harvest, etc. So you've got 3 albums listed here. So it's not, I assume, maybe they only had 3 albums at the time. I'm quite certain that wasn't the case. Absolutely, I loved Gone to Earth and a few other albums they got here, 3. Absolutely numbing British rock of no. I love that sort of stuff. Actually, I quite liked Barclay James at the time. I'm not certain I've actually listened to any of their music of late. And I love also, of course, it's got pictures of the covers of like the Beatles' second album. Of course, in the UK, we didn't have those albums. I mean, you can get them now, imports, of course. But it mentions the Beatles 1962, 66, brilliant. The Red Album, the Blue Album, etc. And also mentions other albums here, the White Album, of course. Those sort of ones were, but you've got the Beach Boys, you've got obviously Bay City Rollers, and so on and so on. Just page after page after page, Tim Buckley, and many, many others. Now, it is split like you've got rock and pop music, whatever. And then you've also got sections, and I'm probably not going to be able to find them straight away. Velvet Underground, of course, The Who. And actually, they get quite a large section. So you've got The Who, got a long list in there of The Who, all the various albums there. And actually, many of them get 4 stars. One of them actually gets 5 stars, even more legendary. I must admit, when I've been going through this, you very rarely see anything 5 stars. 4 stars, 3 stars, etc. Apparently, Meaty, Beaty, Big and Bouncy. I must admit, one album I've never listened to. Maybe I should just get that on and listen to it, because maybe it's very good. But it's just odd when it mentions all these ones. And the odd thing about this book, slightly, major criticism, and I remember at the time thinking this, was this. You got like The Who. There's The Who album. Now, it's not on the page with The Who. Why? Why didn't they just, it's a couple of pages back, The Who. But they put a very tiny little picture. Obviously, again, that's the States one. That's, whatever label. I can't even work out the label. Can't remember. But it's still, you've got Decade, you've got Yes album, etc. But I mean, and these ones, at least Yes is actually next door to the Yes article, which is quite good. Neil Young as well, Decade. Oh, I haven't listened to that for ages. Decade album. But you've got lots of things in here, and let's just go for another one. Now, I assume that's maybe soul music or something. Let's just, no, blues. My apologies on that. Blues. So you've got the blues one, you've got jazz. Now, I think they brought out other volumes of these. So you've got like the Rolling Stone Jazz Guide or something. Or if there isn't, there's other companies that have brought out these real massive Billboard or something where you can get sort of few 10,000 jazz albums or 10,000 classical ones. It doesn't include 10,000 jazz albums. It's got, I love the writing though. That's always quite nice. But you've got all of, obviously, so you can just go through those records and maybe they are pretty amazing. Obviously, John Coltrane, superb. Got all the ones and I suspect. Let's just have a quick look. Yeah, it would be obvious weird if they didn't. Blue Train, etc. 5 stars. It's very strange. And obviously, probably, celebrated, etc., etc. Of course, it's just a masterpiece. So you've got and loads of other ones. Now, I'd probably just go right to the front because that's going to be... So it's in soul, they have broken down country, blues, jazz, etc. So it's a real nice book. Nothing... You might not agree with any of the things. And of course, they did bring out another volume, probably brought out loads more volumes. I didn't actually continue to follow the Rolling Stone record guide. But there was a blue one of this. So you might find the blue one. However, a lot of it changed. And I remember at the time when I got the blue one, I was slightly disappointed with the blue one. It just wasn't, for me, personally, as good, I recall. Maybe now I might have a different opinion of that. But at the time, I remember getting it and thinking, just somehow I was expecting something a bit better or something different. But it didn't do much for me. This one, for me, is the best one. So, of course, you can check out which ones you want. The Rolling Stone record guide, certain copies, sort of book you probably find in old second-hand thrift shops or whatever, charity shops. I've never seen a copy of it, unfortunately, in one. Actually, this is another section that's quite nice, the anthologies at the back. I love anthologies. Anthologies are great because you've got here more American Graffiti, American Graffiti, etc. Motown Story. Of course, there's about 5 million now. Now, of course, with all the CDs, streaming, a lot of this has completely changed where you can get literally billions of songs with, most obscure stuff. I mean, there's just albums that come out like 100, 200 tracks on a box set. And obviously back then with LPs and albums, etc., it wasn't possible unless you had it would have to be in a huge box set. And I had quite a few box sets. I assume that there's mentions here of box sets, but most were obviously 1 or 2 double albums, etc. And it's also got a nice glossary at the back, which is quite good. And it's also got selected bibliography, which is always nice as well, because, of course, if you go through selected bibliography, you can always find some more books to think, that'd be really nice. Urban Blues, the Rolling Stone Rock and Roll Reader's Guide. I mean, that'd be quite nice as well. Rolling Stone's Our Own Story, Roxanne's Rock Encyclopedia. Many of them, I suspect, are still available around, so you should be able to. Bob Dylan, a retrospective, I probably had that one. Bob Dylan, I definitely had that one. An intimate biography by Anthony Scadartuto, The Drifters, and many others. So, what a great book. Absolutely lovely. Like I say, if you're into sort of those albums, you're sort of looking, I think probably you might find this very useful, especially if you've been buying albums recently thinking, it'd be nice to go through it. Though, I must admit, the old records, LPs, whenever you go and find them in like thrift shops for 50p or £1 or something in the UK, they're generally not the albums that turn up in here. Sort of a collection of, I don't know, whatever. But I must admit, I quite like lots of those sort of albums. And on my record player, unfortunately, I've never had much joy with record players. They always seem to blow up on me. So I overplay them and then there's bang. And so I've got a very cheap one. So I prefer CDs now, to be honest. But still, I love looking through this. And it does inspire many a search on, as I say, my favourite Amazon device. I won't mention the name because it will suddenly pop out of the blue and say something. So, Rolling Stone Record Guide. Reviews and ratings of almost 10,000. Currently available. I don't know if they're all currently available. They're probably not nowadays.